Hey, I want to take a moment to tell you about Anchor. I absolutely love Anchor, and it's the easiest way to make a podcast. That's why I use it. Let me explain. It's completely free, and there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and every other podcast platform out there. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Switch to Anchor and never pay a hosting fee again. What you need to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome to the 99% Loco Podcast.
Hey, podcast family, I'm glad you're here this week, and if you're new to the podcast, welcome. We are at episode number 43 this week. If you're new to this podcast, each week I'm bringing stories of Nashville and Middle Tennessee-based entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, musicians, and other creators. We don't just talk about the boring stuff of what happens between 9 and 5. Everyone has a story, their own unique upbringing, and a passion for why they're doing what they're doing. I personally love the sense of community around Nashville and get my kicks from sharing these stories. This week's guest is Eric Black. Eric wraps everything he does around the moniker of Eric Black Was Here. Eric Black Was Here provides all of your video production needs to expand your brand presence, engage with your customers, and leave a lasting impression. His company provides full range of services for businesses and events, from transforming your social media presence to making your next event memorable. From video production, content creation, interviews, trade show coverage, on-camera hosting, voiceovers, and even event photography, Eric does it all and does it well. This guy has even had the opportunity to interview celebrities on the red carpet at the Grammys. Eric also has an extensive background in the rock and metal music scene as both a performer as well as with producing and hosting several radio shows. More recently, and since recording this episode, Eric has launched the Rockcast along with another former on-air personality for 102.9 The Buzz, Parker Minor, where they're bringing you the best interviews, relevant topics, and entertainment in rock, metal, and alternative music. So let's get right into it. Here's my conversation with Eric Black from Eric Black Was Here. How is your business doing right now with all the COVID stuff going on?
Well, actually, man, just this month it started slowing down considerably. I've actually been doing very well. I mean, I'm not rich, but I'm just saying, like, very well. I've not had any downtime. It's actually been very busy for me until this month, and I'm just now starting to see it kind of decline. So I'm on the offensive and trying to, or actually defensive, and trying to get something out there that we can figure out what's going on. So that's why I'm trying to position myself back into the podcasting world. I've done a few podcasts in the past, and then I did some other stuff and blah blah blah, and kind of did all that stuff. But that's kind of where I'm kind of headed back to, because I don't really know what's going to happen, and this whole pandemic thing isn't going anywhere. So
Right.
So it's like, well, this has potential. Let's light this fire. So still doing everything that I'm normally doing in the video production world. But now that I have the opportunity to do some other things, I'm going to take it. I'm going to see what happens and kind of get back to where Eric Black Was Here started, which is doing artist interviews and band interviews and things like that. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. Well, cool. We'll dive more into that, but
Sure.
I have to say I'm a little intimidated to have you on, because I feel like you were born to conduct interviews and are a true professional at it. So I've been doing the podcasting thing for less than a year. So
That's good though, man. How many interviews are you at right now? 30 or show?
As of right now, we're at the beginning of July. I just put out episode 34.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
That's a lot, man.
Yeah. So
you know what? 34 was Sean Giovanni, wasn't it?
It was. Yep.
Dude, he's a good guy. I like him. We actually hang out quite a bit. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah, I saw you had done some videos for him. I don't know if it was NAM or outside of NAM, but I don't know. But yeah, he was really cool to talk to. So
awesome.
So going back to the whole thing of me being intimidated, just for my benefit, what are some tips that you could give me before we kick this off, just to be a better interviewer?
Dude, it's actually stupid simple. People always overthink being an interviewer. They think that you have to run the show. Your goal as an interviewer is never to run the show. I have 3 questions that I generally ask the person I'm interviewing, and those 3 questions, and I have to they're unique to everybody, but there are 3 questions that I say, okay, I'm going to ask these 3 questions because those 3 questions are going to generate other answers, other questions, other things. That's what I go into my interviews with, is 3 questions. I used to have a sheet of like 10 or 15 questions. And the hardest part when I got into those interviews with those 10 or 15 questions was, well, oh man, I feel like I got to get all of these in there, but we're running out of time. I don't know and I got lost in just those questions. So I said, you know what, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I'm just going to come up with 3 questions, and it's per your guest. So come up with the top 3 questions that you think will generate the most or the best response from them, and more questions from them, or just simply keep them talking. And those are the questions that you want to run with. And again, you might have to work with this a few times in order to, to get those narrowed down, but look at each guest and say, all right, these are the top 3 things that I think we can generate a good conversation or other questions from, and just keep them talking. Your goal as an interviewer is to simply keep them talking, because the more content you have from them, 1, the better your podcast will be, but 2, the more promotional content you're going to have for social media, for your website, for whoever, for your reel, for whatever. So just keep it to 3 or 4 questions, and generate questions from those 3 or 4 questions.
Well, good to know. I'll have to try that, because, I've been doing like like you said, the 10 to 15 questions, and it's a struggle to try to get them to flow. Yep. And yeah. Well, good. Yep. I'll try that out. Definitely. So, well, before we talk about your business and whatnot, and I want to talk about your history and music and stuff too. Sounds like you were involved with music, but so where'd you grow up?
I actually grew up in Iowa.
Iowa, okay.
The capital of Iowa, in Des Moines there, and lived in various places in Iowa, but that's where I grew up. So it was a smaller town at that time. I think there was like, I don't know, 150, 200,000 people or something like that. So, there's quite a few more now. I think it's like 500,000 or 600,000 now, but something like that. I don't know, whatever. So that was my experience with growing up. I'd visited other cities and things like that, but then I moved to Nashville, and that to me was a big city. So that was my first experience outside of living in Iowa, is moving to Nashville.
Yeah, so I wasn't very far from you. I grew up in north central Illinois, so
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I spent time in Illinois, Minnesota, Nebraska, Kansas, all those places.
Yep, definitely. So, what was your childhood like? I mean, did you, just wake up one day and be like, hey, I want to start making videos and doing podcasting and whatnot?
No. If somebody gives you that answer, you question everything about their life. No, it started with music. Everything that I'm doing right now somehow spins back to music. So when I was growing up, I listened to the radio all the time. I was actually raised on country music. Do not like country music now. I respect it. I don't like it. But then I found real music, which I like to call rock. Then I started listening to that stuff, really got into it, and started thinking, man, I'd really like to play guitar. So my mom said, well, here's the thing. And I was like, oh, here we go. She said, you got to take 2 years of piano lessons before you can take any guitar lessons. And I was like, what? What is why? Why is that? Well, it's easier to learn everything else from learning piano. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't care about piano. And so I did, because I love my mom. And so I took 2 years of piano, and then I went on to start, playing guitar and singing and stuff like that. And today I have no idea how to play piano. Could not, for the life of me, play piano at all. But I do okay at the guitar, but actually these days I'm more of a vocalist in the music scene. So that's kind of where it's at for me. But yeah, man, it kind of, that's where it kind of started is just being in a band and kind of seeing how things work and how things, kind of flow from music videos to just making our own stupid little videos, band videos, or whatever we were trying to do at the time, stuff like that. So I didn't really realize video was a thing. I mean, it really wasn't. We were born and raised in the 80s and early 90s and things like that and blah, blah, blah. But there was a lot of things around me that that led me to today. But I got my first camera, my first real decent camera. I was probably, I don't know, 22, 23, maybe 24, something like that. Started doing some photos and really got into that. Got hired on as a extra body at this photography place to do like proms and dances and things like that, random things like that, just taking candid shots. They literally hired me on, brought me to my first shoot, which was a prom, and they trained me right there. They said, look, here's what this does. Here's how you take a picture. Make sure you do this. Make sure this person's head is this far away from the top of the camera, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. So I just took a few shots that night, and they liked it. And then that's kind of how it started. So I kind of did a whole bunch of photography stuff with them from then on. And then I started getting into my own stuff, because you got to work for somebody else until you figure out your style. No one really knows your style, their own style, until they understand someone else's style and someone else's rhythm. I know that's weird, but it's really how it is for everybody. So then I started getting into, trying to figure out how I'm going to take photos and how I'm going to do this and blah, blah, blah. Well, fast forward a little bit, moved to Nashville and had a friend who lived in LA. She was a PR person, so she's got a lot of high-end clients in LA and stuff like that. And so she heard that I was moving there, and she said, didn't I see some of the stuff you're posting? Don't you have a decent camera? And I'm like, what do you want from me? And so, she was like, well, I mean, I have a lot of my clients, they go on red carpets, they do a lot of parties, they do all this stuff, and you're going to be moving to LA. Do you want to work with me? And I was like, I guess. I don't know. What are you talking about? I had no clue. What she was talking about. So we moved to LA, and my first, and actually we're going to have to backtrack here a minute, but my first experience with an actual professional camera in front of actual people that matter was a red carpet event for one of her clients. It was a high-end client, and so I'm standing there on the red carpet taking photos, and I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm like, man, I hope these turn out. And so I don't know. I took like 200 photos, which is about 150 too many. But I had no idea. It was my first shoot. I just wanted to make sure that I got everything the way that she wanted it. I mean, she had certain clients, but there was also, other people that were there and things like that. So that's what I did. I went and gave her all those photos. I edited as many as I could and gave them to her. And she's like, these are awesome. And I'm like, really? Okay, cool. So from then on, I lived in LA for about 2 years, which is nothing fancy, but pretty much that entire time I was doing some sort of red carpet event or VIP party, mansion party, things like that. So that's the photography part. The video part, we got to rewind just a little bit. So I'm still here in Nashville. I just moved here in Nashville, and actually, Giovanni, you just interviewed him a while ago, but so he contacted me. We've been hanging out. We did some stuff with a company called Balcony TV. He ran the Nashville side of that, and they interview bands and artists on balconies throughout the city. Well, I came in and I kind of helped him do some stuff on that side of things. I did co-interviews with my podcast that I had back then. It was a radio show for independent artists. It really worked out well. It's called Revolver Underground, and so they would do interviews with him on the balcony, and then they would come over to me on another balcony and do an interview with me. It was a PR management dream, because you could get 2 interviews for one.
Yeah, right.
So he contacts me one day out of the blue. I believe it was a Monday. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm nothing. We're just hanging out." He's like, "How do you feel about covering the Grammys with me?" And I'm like, "You mean the award show?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, "Oh, what do you mean?" "Well, I need somebody to do interviews for me." And I was like, "Well, I mean, you want me to do that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'd really like you to do that." I was like, "Well, I've never done. I mean, I interview indie bands. That's all I've done. I have not done anything else. I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
He's like, "So you can do it." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I guess." So I had no idea what I was doing. We packed up our bags and we flew to LA, and literally from the time we exited that plane, from the time we got back on the plane, we were working nonstop. We were filming people. We were interviewing people. We were going to parties. We were just doing everything we possibly could to get that experience. And in between what we had already set up and planned on, there were also like sub events that we were invited to. So we were kind of going to parties inside parties. It was weird.
Yeah.
And again, doing interviews and things like that. Well, it comes to the point to where it's a serious point, because now we're getting ready to do a red carpet event. And it was for the Grammys, actually. The Grammy Foundation, they had an event going on, and I'm like, okay, crap, who's the lineup? Because I'm thinking there's not going to be that many craziness. It's not going to be too crazy here. Yeah, it was. There was A-listers upon A-listers upon A-listers. So, and the media side, I don't know if you've been on a red carpet or not, but if you're on the media side of the red carpet, you literally generally have a square foot, and that's not an exaggeration. You have a square foot of space to work with. Your 8 by 11 piece of paper is what you see in front of you with your company name on it, or your media name on it. And in this case, it was Balcony TV, because that's what I was helping with. Yeah. So we get in there, and I'm the best part, the best place to be is first in line. Those are all the big people. Those are all the big media companies like ABC or CBS or the bigger names, whatever it's going to be. Those are all the people that are going to get the best interviews, because they're the first in line. So we're like 35, 40 people down the row, and we're just standing there talking, trying to figure out what was going on. They give you a sheet of who's going to be there and all that stuff, but I don't know any of these people. I'm in the rock scene, man. I don't know who these people are.
Right.
So I'm literally, as it starts, I'm literally poking my head down the line and listening to what these people are saying. The people that are interviewing, who they are, what they're doing, what questions they're asking, and I'm kind of mimicking that in my head and saying, okay, here's what I can do, here's what's happening. And that's the last thing I remember. I interviewed probably 20 people, and I mean anybody from, Paris Hilton was there. You have who else? Let's see. We've got now I'm on the spot here, but we had a lot of guitarists, things like that are popular right now. And again, I'm going blank, but it was interesting. So I'm standing there interviewing people, and I can see myself standing there, but anything that's coming out of my mouth, I have no clue. I don't even know. It's just like I'm in this zone. And ever since then, once I get on an interview, once I start interviewing somebody, once I start talking, it just goes. I can't even figure out. I don't know. I have to go back and listen to the podcast or listen to the to the footage to remember what I said. So that was my first experience is interviewing all these A-list actors that I've never ever done before in my entire life. And that was my first video experience, first real interview experience right there at the Grammys. Crazy.
Yes. So what year are we talking about?
This was, I believe it was 2013-ish, something
2013.
Like whatever
okay.
the 54th Grammy Awards, and I believe that was around 2013.
Okay, so like when you went out to LA, we're talking digital. Digital was around. It wasn't still old cameras, and when you were just doing photos, not 35 millimeter cameras. And
right. Yeah. Now it was still fairly new, but I think for the most part, a lot of people were kind of moving over to the digital world, and I actually don't really remember much because I don't know, I zoned out or something. But Yeah, we had a really decent DSLR setup and things like that. We had professional mics. There was 5 of us there. So there was me, the interviewer, there was the producer, there was a sound guy, there was a camera guy, and I think there was one other person. Maybe there's only 4 of us. But anyway, there was enough of us that they had to actually step back about 4 feet because there was no room. So I was actually on the red carpet pretty much by myself trying to figure this out. And about 3 or 4 people down the row, Gio would call out and be like, "Hey, this is so-and-so, and they're known for this. Ask them about this." I'm like, "Awesome, cool. We need earpieces." And he's like, "I know."
That's awesome.
It was good, man. It was fun. That was my first experience ever, and I will never ever forget that. It was so much fun.
Yeah, so it sounds like that was the main driver, and it took off from there. So what's the whole thing behind Eric Black Was Here?
Well, that is it. I mean, that's really where it started for me. Is I love doing interviews, much like what you're doing, man. I love doing interviews. And it's not really an interview for me. It's literally just hanging out. It's literally just talking. There just happens to be, in my case, a microphone and a camera in front of me. But man, I love hearing the stories that these people have that maybe no one really gets to to hear or to see. But yeah, Eric Black Was Here started off as doing interviews, and it actually started with that radio or that podcast called Revolver Underground for indie artists. That's really where I got my feet really wet, and kind of moved in from there. And then a few years later, I wanted to start another business, and this just happened to be what it was. I actually got the name Eric Black Was Here from radio. Actually, I was working at a radio station here in Nashville, rock radio, and so one of the I don't even know who it was. I think it was one of my friends that was working there too. We were leaving an event from working with that radio station, and he just happened to say, "Well, Eric Black was here," and then we left. And I was like, that kind of sticks. I like that. So I immediately looked up the domain. The domain was available. There is a band on Facebook or somewhere that's, is it a band? I don't know. It's something like that. There's hashtags out there all galore, but that doesn't matter. The domain name is what matters every single time. If you can grab that domain name, you're set for life. So yeah. We started that.
I want to take a moment to tell you about Shipt Grocery Delivery. Shipt launched a few years ago in Birmingham, Alabama, founded on the mission of simplifying lives. Shipt serves members, shoppers, and communities by offering convenience and freedom. So here's how it works. Scroll through the aisles of your local stores like Target, Publix, CVS, in the Shipt app and create an order. The Shipt shoppers then work their magic, keeping you connected and giving live updates from the aisles. Your order is then delivered and arrives as soon as 1 hour. It really is that easy. I use Shipt all the time, and let me tell you, going to the grocery store is not one of my favorite things to do. Shipt saves time, fuel, and headspace. With next hour same-day delivery, I have what I need when I need it, whether it's Monster energy drinks, ice cream, and even alcohol. Yes, Shipt can now deliver your favorite adult beverages. I regularly order from my local Target and Publix, but also have options to place orders at CVS and Petco. I absolutely love it. For listeners of this podcast, I'm giving you 50% off. Yes, half off an annual membership when you sign up. That's a $49 annual membership, which is regularly $99. You can cancel at any time, but I promise you, you won't do that after you use Shipt a few times. So here's what you need to do to take advantage of this offer. Head to my website, 99percentlocalpod.com/shipt. That's SHIPT.
And I didn't have a lot of equipment. This is about 4.5 years ago. I really didn't have a lot of equipment, so I was borrowing a lot of equipment and trying to figure out how to work it on the fly, doing a lot of YouTube videos, things like that, a lot of tutorials. And a lot of asking of some friends, but yeah. So now we're just 4.5 years into it right now in 2020, and just trying to figure out what we're gonna do with the rest of our lives.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about the business and what you're doing. I know you do video production, you do voiceovers. You obviously have a voice for radio and doing that, event hosting, event coverage. I know you've been doing at least a little bit of live streaming lately too, with the whole COVID thing going on.
Yeah.
Kind of just chat about, all the things you do.
Sure.
Within the company.
This started out as just doing product videos because that's what I knew. I've been doing product videos for about 7 years now. And product videos are simply getting a product from somebody, whether it's, let's just say it's a water bottle. And I'll take it into the studio. I'll get some really, really good shots of that, really just making it look good. And then also you want to get it to really make those videos stand out. You actually want to get some in-use shots. So somebody's either drinking it or it's on maybe it's on a bicycle or something like that. Something it's being used. That product is being used. That's what really makes it stand out so that people can actually see, oh, okay, this is how it's used. Because sometimes people don't actually know. They'll see your product, they'll like your product, but they won't buy it because they just don't know how to use it. So the more you show them how to use it, the better off it is. So we started off with those, and then always had the voiceovers. I do quite a bit of those these days. Video production in itself is actually very wide, and I did that on purpose because I didn't know really what I wanted to do. So when I say I do video production, I do quite a bit of video production. I don't do movies. I don't do film. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm not that cool. I try to be. I'm just not that cool yet. Maybe someday. But video content is really where it's at. So not film production, not movie production, none of that stuff. Because I don't have $20,000 to buy a lens. So
right.
Not going to happen. But I do have a decent studio here, and we can go out and get some shots. Things like that. So we do video production, voiceovers, event hosting. So if there's something to where, you have an event going on and you need somebody to actually run that event, as far as like being an MC or things of that nature, that's something that I do as well. And just a basic event coverage with a camera. I'll roll up in a camera and take some photos of your event. I don't do weddings. Not a fan. Nope. They are no. Yeah. Unless you have like $50,000, then maybe we can talk. But event coverage, I do a lot of concerts. Well, I don't right now because of our wonderful COVID friend. But I set up pictures of my events, and then I take pictures of those. Does that count? Or is that creepy and weird? Is that a little large? But yeah, man, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people don't really get to see, and things like that. Voiceovers are not just talking in the microphone. There's a lot of things that you actually have to know about how to. Anybody can do a voiceover, but to do it effectively, one, your voice can't sound like somebody's murdering a cow. That's never good. And two, you just have to know what you're reading, because if you're not in the right mindset of what you're reading, and you can't portray that in that mindset, then it's going to sound off. It's going to sound really weird. Same thing with event coverage. If you're taking a photo of an empty table, no one's going to want to see that. They want to see happy people. They want to see packed houses. And they want to see those good shots of the memories. Same thing with video. They don't want to see things that don't matter. So you have to understand that client wants and where they're going with that. Yeah.
So going back to the whole thing about video content and whatnot, what platforms should companies or even artists be using? Still Facebook, Instagram, things like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on right now with social media. So it's kind of up to you as far as what your brand needs to do and what they are okay with doing. Social media is it's a beast. There's a lot of stuff that you have to do to accommodate social media. I would say look at the platform. Make sure that it's something that you can actually do. Not that you can't just make one video and share it to every platform. I mean, you can, but that's not really how that works. When you're trying to brand yourself, you actually have to you have to go to that social media outlet, and you have to figure out what the demographic is. How do I need to make this video work on this platform? Because if you make a video for Facebook, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work on, say, LinkedIn or Twitter or TikTok. All of those formats have a specific way of doing things, and you have to understand what those specific things are in order to be successful. Now, again, you can post anything you want on there, but if you want to be successful at it, then you actually have to understand each and every one of those things, and you have to build your videos or your content according to what they kind of do. So otherwise it's just white noise.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on TikTok besides the whole spying thing?
Well, that is a big one. That is a very touchy point right now, and we'll figure that out. But TikTok is at first, when I started looking at TikTok, I'm like, oh, good, another one for me to have to keep up with. Fantastic.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, man, I find myself going to TikTok more and more and more and more because it's pretty much like every other social media site. It's a party. It's like every other social media site when they first start out. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, it's so cool to be here. Love it. Great. So it's got that new smell to it, if you will. But there's so many cool things that you can do on there that you really can't get away with on other social media outlets. But there's also some other things that you can do on Facebook that you couldn't do on TikTok or even LinkedIn. If you're in a business and you're not on LinkedIn, quit. Stop being a business. Don't do it anymore because you're not doing it right. LinkedIn. And it took me a minute. It took me a long minute to figure that out. I've been on LinkedIn since, I don't know, like 2011, something like that, or even earlier, maybe even 2007. But I just in the past 2 or 3 years really started digging into LinkedIn, and I'm having fun with it, man. It's a really good business network. There are people there that really actually want to help you. And want to see you succeed just as much as they want to succeed themselves. So I don't really do too much on Twitter anymore. I'm actually backed off. I'm personally not on Facebook, and that kind of, whenever I'm talking to clients about that, they're like, well, why aren't you on Facebook? I'm like, well, it doesn't really work for me. I was on there for 6-7 years and promoting the way that needed to be promoted, and no one did anything. So if it's not really a good business venture for you, if it's not really somewhere that you need to be that's helping your business, it's just wasting your time.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think. And that's why I am on Facebook, but I don't check it. I don't do anything. I think I post from Instagram to Facebook, but I don't actually check it. So if you're one of those people that has said hi to me and now you're mad at me because I didn't say hi back, not my fault. I'm not on there. I have a big thing on there that says I'm not on there. So deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how long did you say you've been doing, your company?
We are 4.5 years in right now.
4.5 years. Yeah. So, before that, obviously you did the Grammys thing, but is that come back to you as one of your most memorable experiences, or, what are some other things you've got to be able to do that you're extremely proud of?
Man, it is. That's probably the best in my mind, but there are some other things. Yeah. And actually, I'm trying to get back to that. I've been sidetracked for the last 3 years. I've been trying to get back to the Grammys, and then something else happened where I just couldn't. But I'm trying to get back to the Grammys. I have access to go. I just at the time is what the problem is. So I would say, man, I worked at 102.9 The Buzz here in Nashville for about 2 or 3 years, something like that, off and on. I worked before I went to California, and then I came back and worked there as well. And meeting some of those people, getting into events with the credentials that you have, gets you, further in than somebody that just simply bought a ticket. I don't know how else to say that, but being part of the media and things like that, you get to go to the photo booth, the photo pit, which is up in front of the stage. You can take pictures. Usually it's the first 3 songs, then you got to go. But nonetheless, you can do things like that. Then there's always the backstage when you get to go backstage. And this has actually been one of the cooler things, not just with the radio station, but with Eric Black was here in general, is when I get approved for media at some of these festivals, it means you can almost do whatever you want to do. I mean, and even if you're not supposed to do it, I generally do it until someone tells me not to do it. So, but it's been so much fun just meeting these people on their level, meeting the artists and the bands on their level. Even though I am media, I try not to approach them as media because I don't want them to get that negative thought in their head, because whenever they think of media, they think they have to do this interview, or they want to know the juicy details.
Yep.
Or, they just need this piece of content to appease their boss, which is all of those things are true. But I'm not tied to anybody. So I don't have to worry about any of those things. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to sit down. And if that means I can't bring my microphone and my camera, then that's what that means. And that's happened multiple times. There are a lot of conversations that I've had with rock stars and with bands and things like that never made the light of day. And they won't, because those are they're good conversations. And that's really what I'm wanting to do. And if there happens to be a microphone and a camera, then all the better. But I would rather just sit down with these people and just hear their stories, man. They have so many stories. They get to travel for a living, 1, and then 2, they play music. They get to, do what they love as well. So the amount of stories that they have, most of us don't get to experience even kind of some of that. So to just be able to sit down with these guys and just hear what they have to say is some of those memories. Man, they're just amazing.
Yeah. So if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing? Would you still be in Iowa, or?
Oh, no. No. We, no. Iowa. I don't know if you've ever been to Iowa, but you've been to Illinois.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you know why I'm not in Iowa anymore. No, Iowa's no, I don't like it. I'm going to say that. I just don't like it. It's where I was born. It's where I'm from. And that's never going to change. But I don't even like going back to see my family, not because of my family, but just because I don't like going back there. So I think I would probably be somewhere else. I don't know where, because I've been to California. I liked it. I don't think I'd live there again. Somewhere there's a beach, I would say maybe. I don't know, man. I don't know. I really like Nashville. We left. We left to go to LA. And decided that we just didn't like it, and for actually living there, came back to Nashville, and just everything, it grew 200,000 people while we were gone, and rush hour traffic continues to suck, but nonetheless, Nashville is an amazing place to live, and especially if you are an artist. Now, I say that, but keep in mind that you're not going to make any money here if you're a new artist. It's not going to happen. But what you will do is you will gain a lot of context if you get out there and you try to network. And that's the biggest thing that Nashville can offer you, is those contacts and those networking availabilities to get your music and your band out there. So everybody that I know here is in music at some level, and I'm still in music. I can't get rid of music. But Nashville, I'm very happy to call this home, at least for now. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but right now Nashville is home.
Yeah, and I've heard from other people there's some actually indie music scene here. It's not just all country. I haven't found it yet though. I've been here for 2 years, so I've been trying to.
Well, there is. There's actually a metal scene here too, and it's actually pretty good. It is not on Broadway. It's nowhere near Broadway. I don't venture near Broadway at all unless I'm bringing family down there. Yeah. And stuff like that. But literally when I first moved here, and I'm talking like 2008 is when I first came to Nashville. The first band that we saw was actually a reggae band, and that blew my mind. Not because it's a reggae band, but because you're in the country music capital of the world, Nashville, Tennessee, where country music lives and dies. And so, that was the big thing in your head, is that, well, Nashville's country music. And that was kind of almost something that didn't get me to move here. But again, moving here for music is what actually got me here. And so any type of music, man, any type of music that you want to hear, you can hear it in Nashville. You just might have to look a little hard, but you can find it. I've listened to so many varieties of music, not just rock, but so many varieties of music that it's not even funny. You can go out anytime, not right now because of this wonderful pandemic, but let's just say, for example, that we're not going through this wonderful time right now and everything's back to normal. You can find any type of music that you want to listen to pretty much any night of the week and go out and have a good time.
Yeah. So have you been to the End?
No, I have not been to the End yet, and I don't know why. I have no reason not to, but I just have not been there yet.
Oh man, that's kind of my go-to place. I listen to the obscure old school punk and hardcore stuff, and that's kind of the place they all go to. So love that place. And I found this place called, it's actually a dude's basement. It's called That 70s House too. Which isn't that far from that area, and the guy throws basement shows, which is what I grew up going to. So yeah.
Dude, you're right, man. The house parties and house bands were just some of the best shows, and I actually miss those kind of shows, man. There's not a lot of places that do that. I think that would be a fantastic venue idea. And that place you go to is one of those places. But man, I don't know why more venues don't do things like that, because those are the best parties, the best shows that I can remember, man. And I love going to venues. I love going to regular venues.
Yeah.
But man, those shows just outweigh most of the other shows.
Yeah. So related to the rock and the metal scene, I think I saw you're starting a new online show or a podcast, possibly. I don't want to spoil anything if it's like a secret, but.
Well, it's not anymore. Thanks for ruining it. No secret at all. There's some behind the scenes stuff we still have to take care of, man. But so again, we're coming back to where Eric Black was here started, and that was doing interviews with bands, with artists, with all these celebrities and things like that. Yeah. And it's just what I do. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't have any reason to do interviews. I don't have any, or why I'm doing interviews. There's no, I didn't have a generation before me or my great grandfather. No, there's none of that. I have no idea why I love doing interviews or why I'm decent at it. But man, it's been calling for about 2 years now of getting back into interviews. And I did some here and there, but it's nothing like what I'm used to. So the timing was right where the pandemic hit, and I'm like, dude, all of these artists and bands are stuck at home.
Yep.
Why is no one, and at the time no one was doing it. They're kind of starting to do it now, but we're like 4 or 5 months in now, and everybody's just starting to do it. So I'm like, well, we got to jump on this. So we started, I got a friend of mine who actually, same friend who used to work at the Buzz here in Nashville, and we're going to partner up again and do some podcasting, do some interviews. When we started this process, the pandemic it was non-existent. So everything that we had prepped for was a live show, like a live in-person show. And then the pandemic hit, and then it kind of got us off track a little bit. We had to redo everything and figure out what we were gonna do, how we were gonna do it online and still make it, good, I guess. So that's where your production value comes in. We're going to open up with video. We're going to do some, some on-camera stuff, and hopefully, man, just get some good content out there. Like I said before, I don't want to do an interview. I just want to have a talk. We have to call it an interview because that's what everybody's used to. But man, I just want to hang out. I just want to, I just want to hear some stories. So yeah, it's going to be rock and metal related because that's what I like. That's what I know, and it's my show. I can do what I want.
Exactly.
So we're going to start off with that. I got a really good first name, big name that I cannot release quite yet. We're still working out those details, but a really good big name that I'm excited about to launch on the first show. And I've talked a couple of other media entities into sharing the content, and all that stuff will be shared later, but I'm very excited. This is going to be, if everything works out the way that it looks like it's going to work out, this is going to be the most people viewing this content right out of the gate that I've ever had. I mean, I'm used to having to, grassroots the effort in getting, hey mom, can you listen to this podcast like 50 times just to get my numbers up? Yes, I'll do it. Thanks, mom. I love you.
Yeah. So
that's not, if everything goes as planned, it should be pretty good, pretty fun. And, we can get a lot of, good feedback from it. Just hang out, man. I just want people to take them away for a minute, get them away from all the stuff that's going on right now. Not that I'm not trying to diminish any of it.
Right.
But just a 20-minute break that they can just, not think about it for just 20 minutes and just kind of revamp and get out of their element for just a few minutes and just kind of relax. Because I know that's one of the reasons why I'm starting this is I don't want to think about this 24/7. I don't want to think about everything that's happening right now. I need a break. Yeah. So there are things that need to be done. There is work to be done. Absolutely. A lot of work. But we also need to relax. We also need to hang out and be in community and just, just be able to just chill, I guess. So hopefully the show does that. Hopefully that's what, we can accomplish. But, man, I'm looking forward to it. It's one of those things where I never thought that I would actually have a podcast to where I can control literally every aspect of it from top to bottom. I usually have to have, someone like a PR friend or a manager friend or somebody else that can help these things. But man, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been, building those contacts and networking like I was talking about earlier, man, and they're starting to pay off. So anytime you network, it's not going to be an immediate response. You're building a relationship with this person, whether it's personal or business, you're still building that relationship. Don't go in there just, thinking that you're going to get something right away, because that generally never happens. And then you get blacklisted. But just, I don't know, man, it's going to be fun. I'm very excited about it. We're still working out some of the details on the backside of that. And again, we've had to restructure a couple times now just because of events and things that are happening in our current situation. But man, it's close. We've got about, I'd say probably about 2 weeks before we can actually do our first show. And then we're good to go, man. But I'm excited. It's going to be good.
Awesome. Good stuff. I'm excited about that. So
for sure.
Definitely going to check it out. So
awesome. Man.
Hey, so let's get to wrapping up here. How can the listeners find out more about what you're doing and about you?
Man, all you got to do is go to ericblackwashere.com, and that has pretty much everything you need to know about what's going on with me. There are some things about the podcast that I will be adding to the website later. But that's, you can just ask me or get on my social media. I post about that stuff on my social media, which is, pretty much just Instagram these days. Technically I'm on TikTok, but I suck at it. So, still trying to figure out how to do all that stuff, but I am on Instagram. Eric Black was here, and you can find all those links. There's a whole slew of things on, YouTube, as well, interviews and videos and just all that good stuff. I mean, you'll be there for years. So, but yeah, you can go find all that stuff through my website. But if you have any questions, you can just email me. That's why there's that contact section. That's all that is. You just click on that button right there. You fill out that form, and magically that information comes to my desktop, and then I see it with a little notification. It says, "You've got mail." Ooh, can I say that? Is that, can I?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's ericblackwashere.com, man. And pretty much everything you need to know is all right there.
Well, cool, man. Is there anything else you want to add?
I was on the Montel Williams show.
Really?
Yep.
For what?
Well, actually, I met my birth mother on the Montel Williams show. It was kind of a weird scenario.
Wow.
And that's going to be a whole other podcast. But that video, that video is on my YouTube channel. Yeah, it was kind of a weird scenario, but I did it. It was fun, and I got a T-shirt. So good time.
Well, awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks a lot for doing this. I really enjoyed having you on and talking to you. So
absolutely, I appreciate it, man.
I really hope you enjoyed the episode. And as always, thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can always email me at 99percentlocalpod@gmail.com. Or you can actually drop by the contact page on the website and send a voice message that may appear in a future episode. Speaking of the website, you can find it at 99percentlocalpod.com. And while you're there, make sure you catch up on any and all past episodes. If you'd like to support the show, you can do it in a few different ways. Please follow the podcast on Instagram or Facebook at 99percentlocalpod. Leave a review wherever you listen to this podcast. The best thing you can possibly do is share this podcast with your friends who might want to check it out. Lastly, would you consider contributing to this podcast on a one-time or ongoing basis? All contributions that I receive, 10% of that goes to the Well Outreach in Spring Hill, Tennessee. And until next week, stay safe and be kind to those around you.